All right, let's move to our favorite time of the week. EJ, that is the whitest dancing I've ever seen, and that's me talking. Mikey definitely throwing in the Kyle Nash effort. I will give him that.
I told Mike looked right, but no, he's good.
So as we do every week, we look at EJ's rankings again. For the graphic on the screen, look at the right side first.
Hold on. I'm blocking the other side. Hold
Wait, it's gold.
It is gold this week. This is my way to make sure I don't accidentally do. I'm going to change the color between blue and gold each week, so I don't accidentally do that thing where I put up last week's rankings again, like I did the other week.
This is Florida State gold, right? Of course.
Shut your ass. EJ, read the right side.
Joe Buck yourself
of this list first, my friend.
All right, 28. We got the Raiders. 29, the Giants, because fuck you. 30, the Broncos. 31, the Panthers, and 32, the Bears.
This is my exact bottom five.
There we go.
This is my exact bottom five. I almost wanted to put the Giants at 30.
I did too.
But the Broncos almost lost to the Bears.
Yeah.
I can't. I just.
the Denver Broncos.
You won, but did you? Did you really? So yeah, I have obviously no issues with this bottom five.
Michael?
I did put the Giants at 30.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of debate there. The Giants.
No, I think these are the right five teams to be in the bottom five. It's whatever your order is. It's Chicago, and then it's everybody else.
I would say that if you don't have the Bears last, you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong.
Sit there and be wrong in your wrongness. It's okay.
Yeah, if you want to put the Broncos at 30 and the Panthers or the Broncos at 31 and the Panthers at 30, or the Panthers at 31, Giants at 30, and Broncos at 29. Like I'm not gonna argue about it, but yeah, these are the five worst teams in football.
I would have the Raiders at 28 because I feel like this game against the Chargers you have to kind of throw out because Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play. And they didn't protect well for Aiden O'Connell. Like I said,
right.
Mack having 47 sacks in that game.
I do not think that the Raiders are worse than the Giants or the Broncos or the Panthers. So yeah, I think the Raiders in the list, totally happy with it. But yeah,
I almost put in 28 Josh McDaniels on Raiders because he's a fucking
dude, brutal. I have some friends that are Raiders fans, and I feel bad for them.
Who would you say is 27?
Not the Cardinals.
Who's the next team in if it wasn't the Raiders?
I mean, the Cardinals got consideration, but I said
because I have a hot take.
Go ahead.
It's the Cincinnati Bengals.
No,
dude.
Yes. Here's and being a Bengal fan, you can tell me no all you want. They should have sat Joe Burrow going into that Rams game. They should have put him on the short-term IR, and they should have told themselves, we can get into the playoffs if we run hot the second half of the season because we're going to play teams that are going to be playoff teams. Now you were in a stretch, and you guys talked about it on last week's show, and I didn't say anything before because I wanted to see how they would play against Tennessee. But this is a stretch where if they came out of this any worse than 2-1, it was a failure. Well, guess what? You lost to a team that you were probably saying that we should have beaten. The team that we were probably supposed to lose to in that was Seattle. We were supposed to win these next two games. We were supposed to beat Tennessee. We were supposed to beat Arizona. We were supposed to lose to Seattle. That's the way that the schedule probably shook out when you looked at that 3-game slate going into the
I'll say this to Mike, to your point, though. I never put on 27.
The
but
offensive line,
20s, though.
The offensive line takes weeks off. They've proven that. You have a quarterback who is known for stretching the field vertically, who can't throw it over 25 yards. T. Higgins can't catch a slant pattern if his life depended on it right now. And at the end of the day, we're in a situation where Joe Mixon has gone missing. When you have that much of the offense that is not clicking, there is a problem. And the problem is that they've taken 85% of their snaps out of the shotgun because Joe's calf is definitely a problem.
Yeah.
I love the Cincinnati Bengals. I told you guys before the season started, I bet him to win the MVP. I bet him to win the North. I bet him to win the AFC. I bet him to win the Super Bowl.
Him as their Super Bowl champs.
So
Everyone
will
in this group.
I will die
Super Bowl champs.
to sit here and say, boxing wise, I will die on my shield representing the Houday Nation is fine. But there's also a piece of accountability that you have to understand when your team is not performing to the level that you are accustomed to and the way that this team has been playing, something is not right. And what is not right is the fact that Joe Burrow is not healthy right now. But the problem is you got to keep wheeling them out there because you can't let yourself get too far behind. And that's the problem whenever you have guys like Trevor Siemian, who just got signed off the practice squad to now be the backup in the Jets. Jake Browning, he wasn't good at the University of Washington, and he's somehow our backup quarterback. But you can't sign Colt McCoy? You tell me right now. Bring in Colt McCoy. Sit Joe Burrow for the next 4 weeks. Give me a run where you actually let that calf get right. And that's the Bengal team that I'm talking about.
Like, and this is here's the hard thing with that logic. It is if you're going to actually bench somebody, because I know like people have been calling for the Jets to bench Zach Wilson and put in whoever the hell it is behind him before Trevor Siemian catches up with the rest of the group. But like,
I'll do journalism.
Here's the problem with it. Like, this isn't Cooper Rush, who's been in the Cowboys system for multiple seasons, taking over when Dak Prescott gets hurt. This is a guy who hasn't been in the room, hasn't had the playbook and all of that, and you're expecting them to lead a team. It's not really realistic. And the people saying like, well, the Jets should just trade for Kirk Cousins, or like the Falcons should trade for Kirk Cousins, or no, like,
I mean, I think somebody should trade for Kirk Cousins, but
the mid-season NFL trades rarely work out, especially when you're talking skill conditions, skill positions, especially like wide receiver,
let alone blockbusters.
Backup quarterback is Tim Boyle.
Yeah. Okay. Who?
Who? Like Tim Boyle, the backup quarterback for right now for the New York Jets. He is a 6'4", 232-pound, 28-year-old quarterback who played collegiately at powerhouse Eastern Kentucky.
Yeesh. So yeah, like it's a tough play. The only team that I would nominate besides Cincinnati might be New England. Because Matt Jones
that's one,
stinks. Bailey Zappi isn't saving the world. He could probably do better than Mac Jones, but like, he's not saving the world. Your injuries are starting to pile up. Bill Belichick certainly showing age a bit. Like, life after Tom Brady is not what he expected. It's New England stinks. So I would maybe say New England, but I'm certainly not going to argue with Cincy there. All right, EJ, let's see your top.
All right, 10-1. Here we go. Number 10, the Bucks. Number 9, the Seahawks. 8, the Lions. 7, Ravens. 6, Cowboys. 5, Chiefs. 4, Dolphins. 3, Eagles. 2, Bills. 1, Niners. Honestly, 1 through 9 was easy as shit. 1 through 9 is easy as shit. Number 10 was a challenge. That was last night I went to bed with the Jaguars number 10. And in this one I realized that, you know what? Look, the Bucks are 3-1. Are they really a top 10 team really was all said and done? Probably not. But I gotta reward them for being 3-1, number 1. Number 2, the fact that they come up of a tough loss against the Eagles last week, bounce back to her next week on the road against the divisional opponent. There's gotta be some value there. So number 10 for me here is more reward than anything else.
Like, let's be honest. On a rainy Monday night in Tampa, the Bucks were going shot for shot with, you know, a team that many people have as their Super Bowl representative from the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, even when it was 27-11 or something, some weird ass score that it ended up being, the game at times was closer than it was. So like,
right.
they're hanging in even with Baker Mayfield. Like, again, nobody's confusing him for the second coming of Tom Brady in Tampa.
Yeah.
Nobody's confusing him for the best quarterback in football. but he's been efficient this year.
Yeah,
Like
yes.
Maybe,
he's and like that defense is playing pretty well. So
maybe
I have
we
the
should.
Bucks at 10 as well. Like I said, I kind of wanted to put the Texans in there, but I think it's too
You know,
early.
the week or two, yeah.
Now I will say this: I have the same top 3 as you
Mhm.
do.
Okay.
I punished the Dolphins a bit more. I moved them down to 7, partly because they got their
7?
ass, yeah,
Wow.
partially
Buddy.
because they got their asses handed to them. And because it was their first real big test. Again, they've
I was gonna
had
say, how does 7 surprise you?
they
No,
had
He had number 1 last
I
week.
had
Why?
them at number 1. So yeah,
Yeah.
there was a big swing for them. But when you
Mhm.
when you look at their schedule, they had a tight win against a Chargers team who's 2-2, a 7-point win against New England,
Mhm.
and then obviously the 70-20 win over Denver. This was their first real test, and they failed miserably.
Yeah, it did. It did.
And so I moved them down. The Bills jumped up 3 because they beat the team I had at number 1. Eagles moved up 1, Chiefs moved down 1. Because of the
Same
tight
here.
win there against the Jets. Lions moved up 1. I bumped the Cowboys up 2. So I think it was partially Dolphins deserve to be punished.
Mhm.
A couple of the other teams around them bumped up. Then I had the Ravens at 8.
Mhm.
Seahawks 9, Bucks 10. So not a huge difference between them, but like I said, I punished the Dolphins a bit more. And I'm gonna hit the Joel Klatt.
And rightly so.
No, I respect that though. I do respect that though. It definitely was a bad loss. I'm with you there. Had the Chiefs won in a better fashion on Sunday night, I probably would have moved the Dolphins lower. But that was
That's fair. That's fair.
they've been kind of they've been kind of Georgia-ish too this year as well.
I mean,
Yeah, the Chiefs have not looked great. The
Right.
Chiefs have not looked great. For sure to start the year.
I haven't been here the last couple of weeks for tool time because I've been staying at work and all that. I think you guys were crazy to have the Miami Dolphins at number 1 going into last week. Personally,
Yeah, I mean, you probably reacted a bit overreaction to that.
of course, because and now hindsight looks 100. Their games that they competed in, the Chargers, where neither team decided to play defense. Shocker. They only won by 7 against a New England team that got murked this week by the Dallas Cowboys.
Sure did.
And I don't know, they hung 70 against a team that you have ranked at 30. There's a reason why they scored 70.
Agreed.
No. Maybe it was, it's like preseason rankings in college football where it's like, well, they look like on paper they could be a fun team to play for and watch play, but maybe we shouldn't sit here and, make them the second coming. Them in the top 5 going into last week, I think would have been perfectly fine, but I think their level of opponents would have dictated that if they were anything lower than that, then it would be a failure through 3 weeks for the Miami Dolphins. Because of Tyreek saying that he's going to go for 2,000, and all the Dolphins fans saying that Tua is going to prove this year that he can stay healthy and be this great quarterback because he took jujitsu and learned how to fall or something. I don't know, weird stuff that they're saying down here in Miami.
I mean, they got to grasp at something with what we saw last
Right.
year.
My only pushback is that the Patriots will win rather. Before Sunday, people look at the Patriots as like this tough team that look they're not going to be really good.
We're going to
but
be
because
scrappy this year.
that all went away after this loss to Dallas.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Because Philadelphia, they almost beat Philadelphia too, also number 3.
Because a team finally didn't let their foot off the gas.
Which is
Philadelphia.
weird for the Dallas
Philadelphia was
Cowboys.
up. Philadelphia was up 17-0 in that game. Let's not forget about that. And then they stopped playing.
Yeah. Dallas wanted
Miami
to
didn't
get a make right game after not getting on and off
correct.
the plane in Arizona, and that's exactly what they did.
Miami didn't stop playing against New England. They struggled to put away that fucking Patriot team.
Oh, 2 point, yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles stopped playing in that game because they knew that game was over, and it almost bit them in the ass. Like let's call a spade there.
Sure. Yeah.
Honestly, I have the Lions higher than I have the Ravens.
Okay.
And it's because
I don't hate it.
It's because they've
I do
actually
too. I
been
have the Lions
healthy.
at 5. I have the Lions at 5.
Oh, okay.
My top 10, I have the Seahawks at 10.
Mhm.
I have the Buccaneers at 9.
Whoa, okay.
I don't hate it.
No, I respect it.
Hey, maybe Baker Mayfield is actually a good NFL quarterback when he's not in fucking Cleveland. let's not forget he played pretty damn well at the end of LA.
And that was learning the playbook on the fly at the second half of the year too,
And not having Cooper Kupp. He also did it without Cooper Kupp.
Well, right. This is why I said too during our previews that the Buccaneers could win 7 plus games and it could be in the wild card conversation. And we're seeing it now.
They're in the division.
They might very well do
because they made the smart decision to not start Kyle Trask.
Right.
Sorry, Trask. Sorry, screwed that up. My bad.
And here's the thing with Seattle, I don't necessarily hate it because, like we talked about a little bit ago, you take away a scoop and score and a 99-yard pick six. That game against the Giants, who stink out loud, is a heck of a lot closer. Like,
correct.
So yeah, it wasn't a flashy win against a terrible team. So yeah, nope. I don't hate it, Mike. I'm not going to argue with that for sure.
So I like I said, Seattle 10, Tampa 9. At 8, I have the Dolphins. At 7, okay. I have the Ravens.
Okay.
At 6, I have the Dallas Cowboys. At 5, I have the Detroit Lions. At 4, the Kansas City Chiefs. At 3, I have the Buffalo Bills. At 2, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. And at number 1, bang, bang, Niner gang, because good luck stopping Christian McCaffrey this year, boys.
But to your credit, though, you also wouldn't have the Dolphins number 1 last week either. So to your credit, it does make sense.
No, they dropped a spot or two from where I would have had them.
Right, exactly.
I think they were in the 5 spot because I think the reality of the situation is offensively they are going to be able to keep up with a bunch of teams in the National Football League. But when you run into a team that plays decent to above average defense, they can't leave points on the field. And I feel like they did that at points in this game against Buffalo.
So they
didn't tackle at points. Stephon Diggs had a touchdown where he should have been tackled for a 3-yard gain and somehow tiptoed the sideline and went like 65 yards to the house.
Yeah, and here's a point I want to make about the Dolphins too: is we're not going to find out truly their real identity for a little bit yet because they have the Giants and then the Panthers. Those are going to be 2 easy wins that they walk through. Then they travel to Philly. Then they have New England. Then they play Kansas City.
In London.
Yes, in London. Okay. Then they have the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
And coming out of the bye week, Raiders, Jets, Commanders, Titans, Jets again. Then they close out the year, Dallas, Baltimore, Buffalo. So there's gonna be a couple games, in between now and week 9 where we learn a little bit, and then we're not going to know anything again until towards the end of the year.
So what you're telling me is to turn off local sports radio down here in Miami, because when they win those meaningless games against Sister Mary Catholic School of the Blind, Southwest Georgia Tech, and like Pahokee, we're literally going to sit here and go, they're going to the Super Bowl like we did going into this game against Buffalo, until they go to England and get mollywhopped by the Taylor Swifts and get murked by Dallas and Baltimore and Buffalo again of the worlds, and they finish like 12-4 and somehow or what is it, 13-4, and still somehow have a shot of winning the division late in the year because they play nobody.
Yeah, to your point, I think this loss is very humbling because that was what you're saying there. That's a lot very true. Living in this market too, a lot of excitement. I get it, but
this is the reality check. You have a good team, yes, absolutely, but to take that next step, you can't let what happened in Orchard Park happen. You can't give them free touchdowns, which is what you did at points in that game.
Mm-hmm. Let me say that though. Stay in Orchard Park real quick, because I think Mike included here. We all have concerns about the Bills going forward, at least coming to the year, about whether or not the Bills are where are they at in the pecking order of the AFC, and even the Jets loss, we look bad. Even the 2 wins against the Raiders and the Commanders, yeah, cool. They're Sister Mary the Blind, the whole 9, but then they beat the Dolphins at home. Has that win sort of calmed the waters now for the Bills in your eyes, you guys?
What I'll say about the Buffalo Bills is this: my biggest criticism of the Buffalo Bills over the last couple seasons, and it's documented on this show, is that they don't finish games. Mm-hmm. They'll get up big and they'll just kind of go through that we got them deal, and then they piss the game away, and sometimes it hurts them. Sometimes they barely scrape by, and then they get into the playoffs and they realize, we can't do that here. And then they lose. They didn't give up on this game. They finished this game against the Dolphins. So for their first big test of the year, they passed with flying colors, and
Yeah,
they did the thing that I have criticized them that they don't do. Now as I say a lot of times on this show, and you guys can call me a fence sitter or whatever the hell you like to call me, but I'd like to see a little bit of a bigger sample size with it. Like, yeah, this was a good thing. I have the Bills at number 2 this week. I think they've earned that spot this week. But I'm not going to automatically say that all is right with the world in Buffalo because they finished off a game against the Dolphins that, as the evidence has proven, maybe we don't know exactly who the Dolphins are.
Safe to say that it's pretty much one tier San Francisco and then everybody else right now. San Francisco's been the only team through 4 weeks has been the most consistent, dominant all the way through.
I would put Philly on that.
I wouldn't put Philly in the
dominant. I wouldn't either.
No. I still would.
Nope.
I still would because I feel like while you look at certain games, looking at you, the New England Patriots, and looking at you, the Washington Commanders, maybe it's also because other teams have played them also tough, and I look at it from the perspective of, I trust them, to steal Ernest's thing. Like, I trust the two of them, and then I say it's everybody else. Like, you can put Kansas City on that tier, but Kansas City has already proven to you that they play down to their opponent. They did it against the Detroit Lions, according to some. Not me, because I have Detroit in my top 5. That's because the Detroit Lions are going to be a really good team this year. I believe me and Jim both took them to win the North.
Yeah.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how that one pays off.
That's a wild card.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And it's. I think the reality is the tier to me. It's San Francisco, it's Philadelphia, it's Kansas City. Then it's that drop off to the middle tier, and then it's the everybody else you want to put in a level. You can stagger them from there, and then you have the underperformers that you can put on the side, all of the Cincinnati Bengals, the LA Chargers of the world, stuff like that. But when I look at Philadelphia, they're getting everything. DeAndre Swift, when he went there, I remember making the joke in the Facebook group. I said, all right, so cool. DeAndre Swift's going to take weeks 1 through 4. Rashad Penny is going to take weeks 5 through 8. Kenneth Gainwell is going to take the next 3 weeks, and then Boston Scott's going to take a couple weeks, and then, hey, look, DeAndre Swift's going to be back. DeAndre Swift, for the first time in his career, actually looks like he's running with purpose.
He does. I mean,
and I trust Jalen Hurts and his decision making. He hasn't had that game where it's like, what are you doing, Jalen? Like it's been weird. The scores don't dictate that. I feel like they've been in control in most of their games, but they have been.
I don't know that they have been.
I'll say this to my defense, though.
What game did they not have control in?
Well, Minnesota, for the most part, had control. I mean, it got a little weird at the end, but for the most part, they controlled that game.
They controlled
Tampa game. They controlled pretty much.
They controlled the New England game until they stopped playing football.
Pats came back.
That was half weird. Football, though.
I will say to my defense,
though. He went to overtime against Washington.
I will say to my defense, though. I do trust the Eagles, though. I'm not. This is not a negative on the Eagles. I would rather be the Eagles being 4-0 and figure out who the fuck I am, rather than being 2-2, 1-3, and like I'm behind the ball and I don't know who I am. The Eagles will be there in the end.
And here's the thing: like me saying that I'm not willing to put the Eagles on the same level with the 49ers right now. Like, yeah, I get everybody's going to say, well, it's because you're a Cowboys fan. Look, here's the deal: there's no style points in the NFL. The Eagles are 4-0. Okay, them and the 49ers, the only two 4-0 teams. But when I look at the 49ers and the Eagles, I see one team is better. Now, I also look at the 49ers, and I'm still not totally sure who the 49ers are. Okay.
I was gonna say, are we not gonna talk about
they clobbered the Steelers, a team that a lot of people overrated coming into this year.
Guilty.
4 weeks in, the Steelers aren't good. Okay. So that 30-7 win that looked tremendous week 1 does not look nearly as good now.
But to beat them, you're supposed to. If they're a bad team, they beat them. You're supposed to.
No, but
correct. But I'm not taking that away from them. But beating a bad team does not, like, people aren't crowning the Cowboys because they kicked the teeth out of the New England Patriots. But people will look at a 30-7 win for the 49ers over the Steelers and they'll say, "Yo, look at this big win week 1," right?
And
Like-
and then they almost lost to a team that everybody thought was going to be rebuilding in the LA Rams.
Right, 7-point win against the Rams. That Giants game on Thursday night was still close-ish in the third quarter. Okay, yeah, the 49ers pulled away, but like that's still probably close.
Same in the Cardinals game. Same in the Cardinals too. It was kind of close this
Yeah,
year.
exactly. So like
Versus
now,
the
yeah,
Cardinals.
when a better team, and I've said this with Notre Dame earlier in the year when they had some tight spots early. Good teams will finish off games over bad teams. Yeah, without question. We're gonna find out more about the Niners this week against Dallas. We're gonna find more about Dallas this week. When they play when they play the 49ers. I think we're gonna find out a little bit health of quarterback wise. In that group, we're going to find out a little bit more about the Eagles this week against the Rams, because I think the Rams are one of those teams that is a big time hard out this year. Like, I think the Rams provide an interesting challenge to the Philadelphia Eagles, especially because it's in Los Angeles.
If Matt Stafford's hip does not keep him limited in that game, I will agree with that assessment. But if that hip is
right, and that's
if
what
that
I'm
hip
saying.
is bad and he's going to play through it, then he's kind of putting a target
the
on
Eagles are
himself.
probably going to win. But if the Eagles struggle to win that game, then again, I think some
That's
of my
very telling.
concerns about them are valid.
Mhm.
Because I don't think they've been dominant in all 4 games. But again, they're 4-0. The Cowboys aren't. Other teams aren't. They're one of 2 teams still undefeated. So you can't take that away from them. I think they're still figuring out who they are with new offensive coordinator and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid ranking. I think we're all pretty close, close on there. So I think we can close the book on tool time for the week, EJ.
Yep.
And then as we do each and every week, we look ahead